Up next, I chat with Dawn Howard, a trained dog behaviourist who literally came running to the rescue when my puppy turned out to be too willful. Even though she's a great friend, I loved finding out about some of the Daily Mail days and about the day she set out to get a scoop from Princess Anne.
Having successfully launched 3 businesses, bilingual mum to 2 and entrepreneur Antonia Brown has connected with thousands of people, both French and international, since moving to the French Riviera. These connections allow her to speak with successful local businesses and inspirational people about life here on the Côte d'Azur and share it with you. Welcome to the Riviera Firefly podcast with your host, entrepreneur, and my mum, Antonia Brown.
Welcome, Dawn Howard, to the Riviera Firefly podcast today. Dawn is from Dogs d'Azur and is a dog behaviourist. Hi, Dawn.
Hello there. Woof woof.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm very glad to be here. I am someone who loves podcasts, so it's nice to be on the other side of it for a change.
Well, we love having you here, and I can't wait to hear about your journey to becoming a dog behaviourist. Let's just fill everyone in a little bit on the background, taking you right back to when you was little. Mm-hmm. That was back in England, right?
It was, yes, back in Surrey. I grew up in sort of southeast London, Surrey borders. I am someone who, quite contrarily, I think, loved school. I don't know if that's because I'm an only child, it might be, but I loved school, and I went to a lovely single girls' school, which I loved. I'm still really good friends with a lot of the girls that I met there when I was 11. And one of my nice memories of that time is playing sardines. Do you remember playing sardines?
Yeah.
So one person has to go and hide.
That for years. Yeah.
One person has to go and hide, and then the others who find you hide with you, and so on and so forth. And our school was a little bit unusual because it was actually going to close down. We were going to amalgamate with another convent, and so we were the last year of intake. So eventually we were the only class left in the school, which made the school a giant playground. And so, yeah, we got up to all kinds of mischief and remained friends for life as a result.
So what brought you here then to France?
The simple answer to that is my husband's job. He worked at Cisco in Sofia, and his job allowed us a chance to come down. Originally, we were looking to have a holiday home here and share our time between London and France. But actually, in the end, we just decided to jump straight in, and I'm really glad we did. And I realise, looking at my calendar this morning, that tomorrow is the day we arrived 16 years ago.
Wow. 16 years. It goes really quick, doesn't it? You kind of think you're a new timer, and then suddenly when someone asks you, you say you're in double figures.
So it's actually our anniversary tomorrow.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll have to raise a glass to that tomorrow. So, before you came to the Côte d'Azur, you were working in London, was it? Daily Mail?
One of the people I worked for was the Daily Mail, yes.
Not the paper that it is now.
No.
A bit different back in the day.
Yes, I mean, everybody completely slates it, but everybody reads it as well. And it's one of those things that's fantastic for your CV. The people there are great. It was fun. It was a good moment.
Good days as well back
it
then.
It was, yes.
Go on, share a funny story from back then.
Oh, dare I share a funny story? One of the things that come to mind that were quite funny, actually, is basically I worked in the editorial department. I worked on the subs desk, which meant working from midnight to about 7 or 8 in the evening. And once you'd finished your work for the day, you'd often just continue working on overnights, and you'd be there late enough, i.e. about 10 o'clock, for the papers to arrive. And so you could literally go home that night with tomorrow's paper. So I would be sitting on the District Line tube back to Putney, reading tomorrow's newspaper. And if you had people sitting really close to you, you could just feel that they'd start to look at you. And if they were really nosy, they'd say, "Where did you get that?" And you knew the reason they were asking is because they wanted the lottery numbers or something like that. So that was always quite funny. I quite liked that. That used to have people scratching their heads. In more serious, a more serious answer is that it was a really tense place to work, actually. It was very tense, and often had the boss screaming at people standing over you. But one of the nicer memories was I was only there for a short time, actually. One of the summers that I was there, they had a summer ball held at Hampton Court for all the staff, and that was wonderful. Beautiful setting, beautiful evening, really nice thing to do to motivate your staff.
Oh, it's a great... I lived about 5 minutes from Hampton Court back in the day.
You?
Yeah. Used to drive past it frequently.
Yeah,
it's a great place to go on.
Yeah,
so much history. Okay.
Yeah, so that was a lovely moment in time, actually, and a very special evening to go to a summer ball there, all suited and booted with 2,000 other employees.
Would you say that's your strangest job, or have you got weirder jobs on your CV?
Oh, hasn't made it to my CV, but probably the strangest job I've had was helping to train a dog on a super yacht. And the dog was a border collie at that, who, let's face it, would probably be happier in a field in Wales. Let's just say that oligarchs don't become oligarchs because they are a barrel o' laughs. But I can tell you that I came away from that with a massive respect for the crew, what they do and in what circumstances. Boy, they work hard.
Wow.
And the other thing it gave me was I feel like I understand that section of the Côte d'Azur a little bit more now. Because I didn't before. I had no experience of the whole yachting industry. And after that, I just feel like I understand how it ticks a little bit more now.
Yeah, real insight into it, huh?
Mm. So that was probably the weirdest.
So that's part of Dogs d'Azur, which I can't remember how I actually first met you. I guess it's through friends and friends. But do you remember that time when I started texting you from Corsica because my dog was in some house being looked after and it was just going disastrously. She was a puppy and she'd just eaten a face mask of theirs or something. This was a professional kennel,
yes.
Entre guillemets. And so I was just like, what am I going to do with this dog? And you were like, I'll help you. And I just felt this like warm, calm embrace from you.
Oh, that's nice. That's what I aim to do.
We got together and you helped train me, actually.
Yes.
More than Bailey. And it's still an ongoing project, I feel.
Dogs always are, actually. I think people give themselves a really hard time. It's a work in progress when you have a dog. Very often it's a work in progress. And I try and ask people not to be despondent if it doesn't all come together straight away. Like anything in life, you just put the work in and you get the reward out. And you just go little by little.
And so what was it that inspired you then to set up Dogs d'Azur?
A lifelong passion, I think, is the truthful answer. I've always loved dogs. I've always been around dogs. I've always loved dogs. And I suppose I was lucky enough to be in that moment in my life when I could do something that I really wanted to do. People say try to do the thing you love. And finally that moment presented itself to me. And so I jumped on it.
And how does a typical session go?
There are moments when, I think it falls into two camps maybe. You get the phone call where somebody's just about to get a dog and then you're with them right at the beginning, helping them doggy-proof. Yeah, with the choice even, and helping them to doggy-proof their house, probably more importantly, doggy-proof the garden, and be there right at the beginning. So they start with a blank piece of paper and you really help so that you steer the dog and the family in the right direction and you don't have any problems. Or the other side of that is that for one reason and another, normally really lovely reasons, people have found themselves with a dog who has phobias. Often these can be rescue dogs, not exclusively, but they can normally be rescue dogs. And so there's some issue that you've got to work on. So people phone me when they're maybe not quite at the end of their tether, but maybe quite near it, and need one particular thing worked on, walking nicely on a lead, being able to get through a thunderstorm, things like that. And then I just work on that very specific issue with them.
And with puppies, which was my situation, it wasn't just me that needed training, was it?
No.
Because you could train me and I understood what you were saying, but actually we had to do sessions with the kids.
Yeah.
And Mark to sort of make sure we were all working on the same page.
It's got to be consistent. No matter how many people are in your household, it's got to be consistent. And it's really unfair if everybody is doing it in a different way. If everyone says it in the same way, it's really easy for the dog and you set the dog up for success.
Does it matter if a dog speaks French or English?
No.
No?
No.
Is it just the sound of the voice?
Exactly. Yeah, it is.
Because I wonder
when the commands.
When the dogs come out of kennels, they've been in French kennels, are they still going to understand everything I say, or do I have to start saying it in French?
It's totally about your attitude. It's totally about your energy. ages ago, actually, when we first came to France, we adopted a dog from an Italian woman, and she gave us a list of Italian commands. So rather bizarrely, my Swedish husband and me being English and us learning French was speaking Italian to our dog for a while. And then we just realised this is ridiculous. And apart from the odd word like andiamo or something like that that had a totally different sound to it, it's just about, you know, you pick up a lead, a dog knows you're going for a walk.
Yeah.
You hold a biscuit, a dog sits down. So very quickly they put connections to whatever sound you're making. And actually I like doing non-verbal cues with dogs so that they tell from your body language what you want from them.
So like a hand gesture? Or...
Yeah.
Okay.
So say you hold up the flat palm of your hand instead of saying wait or stay. Or I do this big thing where I kneel down and I put my arms wide open for them to come to you in a field or in a forest. So you just don't feel like you're constantly saying the same thing and shouting like a fishwife in the middle of a forest. You know, it's just one of those things that I like if you can do it without words. But no, dogs don't really speak a language. They speak dog.
And also checking, I guess, that you're going to choose a name for your dog that you're happy to shout out in a forest really loud.
Yes, always a good one. Always important that it's a name you can all shout, and that it's not something weird that you later regret.
Or is like something awful in French or something.
Yes, exactly.
And what does the positive only part of your approach mean?
Historically, the thinking was that you had to always be the boss. The thinking was
the wolf pack idea,
that you would eat first, that you would go through a doorway first, and people would either do the thing of rolling up a newspaper and tapping the dog on the nose with it, or worse, hitting the dog or punishing the dog, and hoping that somehow by punishing the dog you'd bond with it and it would want to do what you wanted it to do. And more they've realised that isn't the way. Just like humans, you've got a carrot or a stick and you can do it with a carrot. And one, it makes your bonding with a dog much quicker and much easier. And dogs want to work with you. So if you can actually push the right button and get your message across of what you want, then in a positive way you can get the dog to do it. Now, it doesn't always mean that you're going to stuff the dog full of biscuits, but, you know, a cuddle or a good boy or something like that is very rewarding for a dog, and it's a much quicker way of actually getting a dog to do something. So when you're toilet training a dog, telling it off won't help. In fact, it'll make it worse and worse and worse. You'll have more little accidents on the floor. You'll get frustrated, the dog will get frustrated, and there's nothing in there that aggression is going to help. But if you can stay positive and keep your energy nice, you'll get there, and you'll get there quickly.
And you gave me the idea to use a shaker tin as well to distract.
Yes.
You know, with stones in a tin to make a loud sound.
Yeah.
That was great. That sort of captures them in the moment, doesn't it? And
it's often about timing, especially for dogs like terriers, but it's often about timing, and if you can just get the dog before it's gone or before it's distracted or before it's decided it's going to go and do something else, if you can get in there with the right pitch of noise, whether it's the rattle shaker or your voice or a clap or a whistle, some people are good at whistling, I'm not so much, then you've really, you know, you're halfway there. So there are lots of ways of doing it, and your dog will get very familiar with your way of doing it and your family's way of doing it.
On the subject of toys, I only have one toy that's actually lasted 3.5 years, which is that big red Kong that you kind of unscrew, put treats in, and for me that's been indestructible. And when my dog had puppy teeth, I thought it was amazing. These soft, squeaky toys lasted for quite a long time, but now the big teeth is there. It lasts about an hour.
Yes.
Are there any other toys that you found are worth my investment of money?
I will just say at this juncture that I'm not sponsored by them, but I really wish I had shares in them. Anything made by Kong. They are the best brand. They're indestructible. And I say this having used them with 70-kilo mastiffs, big, heavy dogs. As well as every kind of puppy and every kind of weight. Anything beginning with Kong works. And people mean well, or your friends and neighbours mean well, and they give you a little toy that they bought at the supermarket or that actually belonged to one of their kids, and they play with it, and then they swallow half of it, and as you know, then sometimes you have to go and open up the dog and remove the squeak or the towel or the whatever it is.
So just so people know, I had to pay €1,500 to get Mr. BB's black sock back out of our dog once,
Which was painful for us all, to be fair.
We laugh now, but it wasn't funny at the time.
It was so desperately sad at the time, and stressful for everyone. Yeah.
And I think everybody's got their own story of that. Actually, I've met so many people who they've left their dog with a ball that squeaks, and the dog has eaten the squeak, and all kinds of things. So yes, I think just buy once, buy well, and buy once. Buy things that are sturdy. And you'll be really glad because your dog won't be coming to any harm.
And on safety, we're recording this end of February. Right now, processionary caterpillars
are everywhere.
And I remember going on a drive up to Griolière and sort of seeing these big things of cotton wool up in the trees as you got up there. And I was really like, what on earth are those? I'd heard of processionary caterpillars, but I didn't realise that was their nests up there. So that's one thing to look out for. What else are we looking out for when we're out and about?
Well, at the moment, they are the biggest worry, actually, because they're down after the wind and the rain in the last couple of days. They're mostly down from the trees now. They're only in pine trees. Bizarrely, they come down from the pine tree and they walk south. Ones that don't get killed or squashed along the way dig themselves down into the garden, which is quite a weird thing, so that then they come back and you continue the cycle. I had a dog who was badly affected by one once, and it's awful. Thankfully she survived, but it wasn't an easy thing. It was after a lot of attention from the vets, and I hear that nearly every day at the moment, that people's dogs are in contact. So right now, if you think you've got your walk is too near pine trees, or you've seen a lot of them, walk down by the coast, walk somewhere where they are not.
I mean, it literally look like a sort of chain, head to toe. Looks a bit like a snake almost, doesn't it?
Yeah. When it catches your eye, you think it's a snake.
We had the similar problem last year. My husband didn't actually see any evidence of any processionary caterpillar. Got home and our dog just went crazy, like rubbing her muzzle on the floor, and we rushed her to the 24-hour vet in Sophia Antipolis, because it was, of course, a Sunday.
Of course.
And Les Cloisons. They were fantastic, and basically said, if it does happen to anyone, keep bicarbonate of soda at home, put that in their mouth and wash it out with a hosepipe, and just get them to any 24-hour vet as
quickly as possible. That's the key, to do it as quickly as possible. Exactly as you said, bicarbonate of soda. If you happen to have it and you're good with knowing your dog's weight and exactly what the medicine is, you can use antihistamine or cortisone as well. That stops the throat from swelling up. But you need to know what you're doing a little bit with that. Better to not play vet. Better to actually just get to the vet really quickly.
Or go down to the beach.
Or go down to the beach for your walks for a while. And exactly as you said, you don't see them. Your dog has passed an area where they've been. So for the moment, we've got a couple of weeks. I think we've got till probably the end of April. So it's a bit of a worry for a while.
It seems to come around fast, because it only seems like the other day that it happened.
And then after April, you've got things like sandflies, mosquito bites. But sandflies are the worst. And that, I now understand it more and more, seems to be when dogs are sitting out in grass between about 5 and 7 in the evening, which they
not
often
related
do.
to sand.
Nothing to do with sand.
Okay.
But they're a particular type of insect, and they carry this leishmaniasis disease that they get in Spain as well, in France, as well as France. And you can put a collar on for that, and you can vaccinate against it. If you want to do belt and braces, you can do both. But it's just another thing to worry about, if you like. And obviously all summer, fleas and ticks and bits and bobs like that. But your own vet will tell you all of those things.
Now, some people may recognise your voice if they're avid Riviera Radio listeners, because you are also Woofer of the Week, aren't you?
I am, yes.
So, how did that happen? How did that come about, and what is it exactly?
How did it come about? It came about through a very nice friend of mine, Rachael Dickens, who some of you will know as the English Osteopath. It came about with a conversation I had with her, and thinking it was a great idea, and there's always so many dogs looking for good homes, and a deep desire that people really know what they're getting, because I think people are quite frightened about adopting a dog in case it doesn't turn out well. And for our part, we want to be really honest, and we want to tell people this dog doesn't like children or can't stand cats or whatever it is, so that you stop a yo-yo effect, so that when people adopt the animal then it all goes to plan and they love it and the animal settles in and it's all good. So that was sort of the idea. And then thankfully the lovely folks at Riviera Radio agreed and thought it was a good idea, because we wouldn't have got very far without them. Yes, huge thanks. And so every Wednesday morning at around 8:15 we feature one new dog who needs to find a good new home.
And it's been working well, hasn't it?
It's worked really well, actually. In fact, we had the dog we featured last week adopted already, which is really good. I'm really, really happy, and I know that he's going to a fabulous new home in Mugène, and he'll be a happy bunny. And so, yeah, that's really, really good, actually. It doesn't happen every time, sadly, but we have had a lot of success.
What you have done, though, is you've raised the profile, I can say this personally, of refuge dogs. So between Woofer of the Week and French Riviera Animals,
yeah.
Seeing all these dogs that people are promoting on there certainly made us think, when we went for our second dog, to go to a refuge, and we went up to the one up in Saint-Vallier. It's actually the old
SOS Chien Âgé.
But our dog, the second one, isn't that old, in fact. But that's where we went and got ours. We chose that particularly because our kids are a bit older. So those things that you were talking about of maybe being a bit unsure of what they might be scared of or things like that, our kids are a bit older to cope with a new dog.
Yeah.
But what about the local refuges? Which ones which ones would you go to if you were thinking about adopting a dog right now?
Well, that's a big question. I should just mention, first of all, that the dogs that you find in these shelters are more often homeless due to something that they have done. They're homeless because their humans have had a change in circumstance. Yeah. So people who've got divorced, lost their job, a lot of that happening recently.
That's a really good point.
Death, which is desperately sad, and sometimes a big relocation. So these dogs are in there for that reason. It isn't that they've done something wrong. Yeah. Very, very occasionally we have an owner who's taken on too much and decided to get a puppy when realistically they're out to work for 10 hours a day. So they then contact us and say, actually, I need to do the right thing. There are plenty of shelters and refuges locally. My personal favourite, and that's just because I've adopted two wonderful dogs from them, is the one in Carrosse. But also there's a great refuge in Vence. There's one in Antibes. There's the one you mentioned in Saint-Vallier.
And I'll put some of these in the show notes as well.
Great. There's one in the Var as well. And, they all need help. Whether you do something like collect blankets and bedding and give them things like that so that they have them for all their little inmates.
And they need dog walkers as well sometimes,
they often need dog walkers. And if you can't, there's a couple of them that run schemes that even if you can't, for whatever reason, you don't want an animal or you're allergic or you live in a tiny flat or you're away a lot, whatever the reason is, but you'd like to actually have an animal in your life and play a role, they're quite happy for you to go along and sit with a cat or walk a dog around a block. And I think that's quite nice. If I didn't have an animal, I could imagine doing that, and it would feel quite nice to still have some contact.
And I did look into doing this. The timing was just a bit wrong for me, but I think you do need to phone ahead. You need to have your ID and register if you want to go dog walking. You can't just turn up there.
Yes.
They need to know that.
Some of them they need to know. If you're going to be a regular dog walker, I know at Mugène, because I used to do it there, you need to be insured, so you need your ID and you need a lot of information. At somewhere like Carrosse, actually, they'll just let you be a foster and you can do it. But, as with a lot of things, you should just turn up with your ID and a bit of information about yourself anyway. And the other people I should just give a little shout out to who I did some work for last year and are doing fantastic work is the EMCGA, the Guide Dogs for the Blind and Beyond.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously you can volunteer to be a host family for them. You can help them in lots of ways. But they're often looking for host families because the initial part of the guide dog training, the dogs come and live with a family, I think it's for 2 years, before they then are taken over by the centre and given all the incredible training.
Yeah.
And the folks do there, it's an amazing thing that they do. They do a really good job.
So that could be a good way to test if a dog's a fit for your family as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you've got the time, if your work allows it, that kind of thing.
And it's not a huge commitment as well, because obviously there are moments that in life where you don't want to take on a huge commitment. You might just want to take on something that's a smaller project. There's your answer.
doing things you love, I totally agree with that. Is exactly what I've done. Are there any challenges when you've in your chosen path that you've come across?
Many. Many. And like everyone who you'll talk to, I think, especially here, they're going to cite the paperwork, they're going to say French bureaucracy, etc., etc. But personally, I think you have to think of those as challenges. You have to think that the sun tax, it's a sun tax, it's the price we pay for living in such a beautiful part of the world. We live in paradise. So, of course, there are going to be a few little sticky things along the way, but that's the price we pay.
And I guess, to be fair, no matter what country you go and live in, if you set business up for yourself, there's always going to be admin and bureaucracy challenges. Yeah. I like that sun tax. That's nice. It's a great positive way of looking at it. Have you got any good stories, any nice wow stories, any famous celeb stories to share with us?
Oh, that puts me on the spot. Nothing like Fays. I did enjoy that the other week. They were brilliant, weren't they? Well, the only famous one I can come up with for you is after university, my first job was at a local newspaper, the News Shopper it was called, and I loved it there. And I was sent to a photo op attended by Princess Anne, and she happens to be the only royal that I really like. And she was visiting the school. The school was a school to help disabled children live as fully as possible. And this particular event was about the kids enjoying the equestrian centre, which of course is the reason why she was there. She doesn't give interviews. So I was chatting to the various bigwigs while trying to look totally at ease with the horses, obviously so that Princess Anne would think we have some common ground between us, in my head. And at that moment, one of the horses got very interested in my hand and promptly ate my pencil. Thankfully, no fingers. So I had to carry on coolly and calmly with my questions while memorising all the answers and racing back to the office. And I can remember this like it was yesterday. I wouldn't even turn on the radio. I couldn't have any distraction. I raced into the office. I raced up the stairs. I wouldn't let anybody speak to me while I quickly typed everything I could remember. And let's just say I learned that I should always take more than one pencil after that.
Yes, a good scout is always prepared, or brownie.
Look at me, I've got my 2 pencils today. I learnt the lesson. And the other one, on a much more serious note, another moment that I am hugely proud of was being a birthing partner to my friend Charlie as she went into labour.
Oh, wow.
And the thing about this was that she went into labour very, very, very early. I think it was 27 weeks. So it was frightening and amazing in equal measure. I'm happy to tell you that I am godmummy to Rosa, who turned out fine. She's still monitored. She's monitored every 5 years because they did everything so right with her, and she became such a success story that they keep checking on her all the time. And she's always been ahead of her age group in reading and anything she had to learn, because her parents were told that she might not be, so they just put all the extra effort in they possibly could. And she'll be 17 next month.
Wow.
Rosa will be 17. She's very ahead of her class and is honing her skills at the moment to be a writer like her parents. So it all ended very nicely, which is good.
An incredible experience.
It was.
Wow.
It really was.
Do you listen to any podcasts?
I might do. You know I do. You know I'm a huge fan. I think it's all very new and exciting, and I am a huge fan.
Because we were just talking off air, Fireflies, and I wanted to share back with you is that Dawn and I are just discovering podcasts and becoming huge fans, and we're just between you and us. We're going to share some of our favourite podcasts.
Oh,
okay?
You lucky people.
And also, why don't we share, keeping it clean, where we listen to podcasts and why we're finding it so... For example, I've shared before, I do my laundry, fold my laundry.
And I love that, because it's just multitasking. I do that too, and I love it. You don't feel guilty. You're half listening to something and folding laundry.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
And you're not wasting your time folding laundry, because today's society, I think, is about not wasting time. It's about making the most of your life. You're only here once. You know, there's so many different types of podcasts. My cousin in England was telling me she listens to lots of TED Talks.
Oh, yes.
Lots of ones on psychology, because she's working with children in special needs. And what do you listen to?
Well, you've just given me time there to delve into my bag and look at my phone. So the podcasts I currently have on my phone are The Woman's Hour, BBC Radio 4 Woman's Hour, the Adam Buxton podcast that I love, and I think he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Scroobius Pip is another one. That's
I haven't
a new
heard of
one
that.
that I love.
How do you spell it?
I'll send you that so you can put that on the show notes.
Okay.
Because it's a funny word to spell. BBC World Service, The Inquiry. A little bit heavy, but I quite like that when I want to know about things. The QI Elves do one called No Such Thing as a Fish. That's quite funny because obviously they know little factoids about everything, and that's quite fun.
That's as well. I have maybe about 15 podcasts that I'll listen to on and off. I have some serious business ones.
Yeah.
I have some really funny ones. I have some quite naughty ones that I don't want the kids to listen to. You know, I'll tell you about those later. But you have different ones for different moods, don't you?
Yeah. And there are ones that sometimes you want to be very quickly informed about something, so you're literally driving from A to B thinking, brilliant, I can catch up on a world event very quickly by listening to this and feeling like I'm plugged in. And there might be other moments when it's Friday afternoon and you're driving home from work and you're exhausted and you want to really laugh out loud.
Yeah.
So, it just suits every mood. And I just think it's such a new way of listening and multitasking, and I just love them.
I listen to Jason Mandford as well, the comedian. He's on Absolute Radio, and he does that on a Sunday, but I, for some reason, can't tune my radio in to listen to that on a Sunday, so I listen to the week before's podcast and pretend that I'm...
that you're live.
Yeah, exactly. Who do you think, have you got anyone that you think I should interview for a podcast?
Ooh.
Give me some names and I'll go hunt them down.
Local people, obviously.
Yeah.
I can't just say Daniel Craig and you have to bring him here to
Well, I will try him too.
I think you should... How about Kate Adams from Adams and Adams?
Catering,
Yes, I think she'd be a great one. It's not just catering. She's going to tell you a lot about event management, I suspect, as well. Who else? I'll have to keep my thinking cap on. She's the one that's just popped right into my head.
Rachael Dickens is also on my
She's already
list.
signed up, I think, isn't she? Yes.
She's coming up soon.
Have I managed to get here before she did?
You did. Early bird. Brilliant. What's in line for Dogs d'Azur and for you in 2017? And I guess, how can people get in touch? So if they're listening going, this is exactly what I need an expert to come and help me. How can they get in touch?
They can get in touch with me via a Facebook page, which is Dogs d'Azur. Because I have historically been working in editorial, it's a bit strange, but I decided that I wouldn't make myself a website because I am one of these people that... When at school, I spent all my time making a revision timetable and not actually doing any revising. So I thought I'm going to just spend all my time tweaking and modifying and making a thing of beauty out of a website and not actually seeing people and seeing dogs. So it's just the Facebook. And that's
very modern of you.
It's very modern. As for what's coming up, well, I hope that I can continue to help people have a more harmonious life with their four-legged friends. I was really chuffed last week. I got 2 texts. One said that I was the guardian angel of dogs, and the other one said I was their fairy dogmother. And both I just thought was the funniest and sweetest thing. So I hope to carry on doing more of that.
I think you need to sign all your emails now, the fairy dogmother. That's fantastic.
I hadn't had it before. I thought it was really, really sweet. And so I'm hoping to just... that we can continue doing that, and also helping to find homes for all those dogs out there that badly need one, or supporting and helping the shelters in any way we can. I should just mention that it's a whole team of people doing this. It's not just me. So apart from saying thank you to Rob at Riviera Radio, I have got to mention Tanya Burrows, Tana Cooper, Janie Arnold, Hester and Joe, Louise Christmas, Chloe Labaudette Martinez, and lastly Caroline Britton. And probably I have missed people on the list, and if I have, apologies.
There's a great army of people actually out there helping.
There are.
All animals. I think there's a rabbit. I saw recently someone set up a rabbit refuge as well. So it's a growing area of concern, which is great, that people are looking out for little furry friends. Where's a good place to take dogs for a walk or to go and discover the Côte d'Azur, with or without dogs?
Places to take dogs for a walk, I'm not sharing that with you.
Fair enough.
And people know all my favourite dog walking places anyway. And right now, that really is just find somewhere where there are no caterpillars. Good places on the Côte d'Azur. Again, that used to be something I didn't like to share. I used to write lifestyle pieces I worked for Time Out for a while, and everyone used to know that I was researching and visiting and going to these places, and then I found it very difficult to balance because I never wanted to share anything. But to podcast land, I think we've probably mentioned all the obvious ones, or many of your other podcasters have mentioned the obvious, beautiful places that are right on our doorstep. So I'm going to say the other side of Grasse, out into the Var. That whole coastline, I think, is such a find. And that area of Fours Les Plages, for example, we've had the loveliest lunches there. It makes a great day out, and it isn't actually too far to trek.
Okay, that's a good one. I'm going to have my whole spring really mapped out for me now with all these great places. No, I really am. That's what I'm going to do this week, is block some time and go, right, every weekend, I need to go and
somewhere
check.
New.
Yeah, all these ones that Tracy and Tina and now you are telling me about.
And even though we've been here a long time, you know, you haven't seen them all. There's so many places, and it's fun to go and be a tourist where you live. You know, when I lived in London 20 odd years ago now, I liked being a tourist in London. I like being a tourist here as well, and not just getting stuck into the same old things.
You appreciate it more as a tourist, I think. You get used to it when it's your everyday, don't you?
Yeah, totally.
A bit blasé about it.
So when you get visitors in the summer and you sort of march off to a museum or a beach or a restaurant, I like to ring in the changes as well, because you probably have the same thing. People come back year in, year out, and they love it, and they don't want to keep doing the same thing. So they're quite excited if you found a new place to take them. So it's a good excuse. Be a tourist in your own home.
I love it. When I'm down on Fours Les Plages, what will I be reading? Because we actually in a book group together, aren't we?
We are,
and so I hope you're coming up with one that I haven't read.
Well, you won't know this from book club, but I love reading autobiographies and biographies. I have shelves full of them at home because they were pre-reading on a device days, from Montgomery Clift to Vinnie Jones, Billy Connolly, Cilla Black, Tom Baker, Grace Kelly, Tarantino, you name it. I love it. I love being part of the book club as well. It makes you read things that you might not read otherwise. And a good example of this, I think, is Burial Rites. Thank you, Chris Hurlick. A book set in 1829 Northern Iceland. Now, to be honest, I may not have chosen it. No. And yet, it was probably one of the best received books in our book club. So I think, you know, if you're not already in one, start one or join one. I've just finished Good Me, Bad Me by Ali Land.
Oh, I love that
which
one.
I would recommend to those who like thrillers, because it is quite a good page turner.
Yeah, very much so. It was a good... Okay, I'm going to have to, start a list of all these books as well, so that if anyone wants to start a book club, it's really easy. Because it is a bit hit and miss. We have had books that... Actually, the whole group haven't enjoyed that much. So to have a good selection for your book club, if you were setting one up, that you could choose from, the ones that were kind of tried and tested, is probably quite a good... Yeah,
it makes it much easier. And actually, it doesn't have to be the one that everybody loves. We've discovered this. People do discuss more. You get more heated discussion over the one that splits you down the middle anyway. So.
Yes, we've had very quick conversations. Sometimes, like that.
Yeah, we all liked it. Say.
Yeah, but when it's good when it's a 50-50 split. Yeah, or actually 60-40 is better. What kind of motto or inspirational quote to set people up for the week have you got for us?
Oh, it has to be, I think the world would be a nicer place if everyone had the ability to love as unconditionally as a dog. Has to be. Yeah. Wouldn't it be? You know, you switch on the news every night and feel thoroughly depressed. And if we had a bit more love in the world, I think it would be a very good thing. And I feel it's a little bit disloyal to all the... academic institutes that have put up with me over the years and tried to push Latin mottos into me. But my other one would be the one that's on my fridge, thanks to Alison Rental, which says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. And I love that. I love the idea that the power of your mind can change something. So if you really believe you can do it, of course you can do it. And if you really think you can't do it, you'll never do it. And it's all about getting your mindset right and getting your mind round something.
That is very powerful, and I believe that 110%.
Do you?
Yeah, totally.
You should put that on your fridge then, too.
Alison, I want a fridge magnet. Dawn Howard, dog behaviouralist from Dogs d'Azur, thank you so much for sharing some of your precious time away from our furry friends.
My pleasure.
I really enjoyed that.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Come and join me and Dawn and some of the other entrepreneurs that I've been chatting to in our very own little Facebook group. Look on Facebook for Riviera Cocoon, COCOON. It's a safe haven for us to share and to support and to encourage and to grow. Hope to see you there. Let's go take some action.
I have to say here a thanks to Kiduland, the little English school near Sophia Antipolis, because they're the ones that are sponsoring this podcast and allowing us to share all things Côte d'Azur living with you. So let's give them a shout out. What do? Well, they run activities for babies, children and adults all week, weekends and in the holidays, both in Valoris on the Chemin de Saint-Bernard and through various other locations like the Sophia Country Club. Lots of activities are to learn English, but there's a good amount going on for bilinguals too. The teens aren't forgotten with some excellent week-long programmes via their Adolan packages. And adults too can join regular yoga classes, pop-up chalk painting on furniture. They also organise photo shoots seasonally, which make fabulous family mementos. It really is all going on there, so go and check it out, www.kiduland.com.
This episode was brought to you by Riviera Firefly for Côte d'Azur Living by your host and my mum, Antonia Beauvoisin Brown. Please subscribe